We'll now move on to organizational announcements. Is there anyone here that has an announcement for any organization?
I do. On behalf of the Ossining Waterfront Alliance, my name is Don DeBar. A week from today, February 28th, there'll be a planning board meeting and architectural board of review meeting at the Armory. I assume it's at the Armory at 7 o'clock, is that right? 7 o'clock. And on their agenda is a review of the modifications to the site plan for Harbor Square. We're inviting all members of the community that are concerned about what happens on that site eventually, which is in play again, to come to the planning board meeting. Again, it's Tuesday, February 28th at the Armory at 7 o'clock. And that is also the 6th anniversary of the groundbreaking for Harbor Square.
Is there anyone else?
Mike, if I may. Once again, the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary meets the third Wednesday of the month upstairs at the Ossining Boat and Canoe Club at 7:30. It's getting the time for boating season again. For those of you who have not taken an 8-hour boating safety course, please come down and see the Coast Guard Auxiliary. And for anyone who'd like to get out on the water, Coast Guard Auxiliary is a great way to do that. We also, of course, you can go down and join the community sailing program at the Recreation Center. Thank you.
Anyone else? We'll move on to village board resolutions. Is there anyone who would like to address the board on any of the this evening's resolutions?
I'd like to address resolutions D, E, and F, which deal with Harbor Square. And D, your intent to become the lead agency to review special permit amendments to the approved Harbor Square site plan, which is also 6 years old or better, which would last on just about any other planet but Ossining. Item E, which is planning board referral, where you're referring it for review. Again, for the meeting on the 28th begins. And F, referral to the Environmental Advisory Council. Just to start with a review, this parcel was sold by the village for $2 million. A short period after that, it was mortgaged for $12 million, and finally $14.4 million without any construction whatsoever. So from the gate, we've taken a huge beating on this. Then the zoning was contorted, distorted, and amended to accommodate a use that 6 years later still hasn't been even, the construction hasn't even started. The market probably isn't going to be right for that for another 2 or 3 years. Now we understand that they want to go to a rental housing regime again. I saw the work session from the 14th this morning. I watched it when the Waterfront Advisory Committee made the recommendation that you seek to have the housing removed from that site and moved to the east side of the tracks. And they stood on a poll that they admitted wasn't scientific. They had 50 people who responded, and the sense of the respondents was that they don't want to see housing on that. And after they presented that, Mr. Mayor, you said that that's not the result of the poll that was taken by the village with respect to the comprehensive plan. As a matter of fact, I reviewed that again this evening, and it is exactly right. Housing was at the bottom of the preferences chart for the large poll. It was more than 1,000 respondents for that. At the top of it was waterfront recreation uses. So even with the process having had a heavy hand of the village in it at that point when the community expressed its opinion, that poll also showed that people don't want housing on it. Now, 6 years after approvals, or better, after approvals are issued in any other municipality in Westchester County, for example, in Peekskill, they pull the permits and they make them do the process over. They're not entitled to retain those forever. And as a matter of fact, Ginsburg lost his permits up off of Fort Hill about 2 years ago after it languished for many, for a couple of years, for a lot less than 6 years, as a matter of fact. Likewise, Capelli and New Rochelle. So you're not obligated here either to continue with this project the way it is. And what you should be doing before you designate yourself as lead agency and refer this particular pet project of the developer to the planning board is try to get a sense of the community and try to take charge of what you do have control over and give the community something that it wants. And to finish, I'll just say that I promised Tom Cambereri, John Perillo, Gene Napolitano, and Miguel Hernandez that that project would not be built. I started 13 years ago making that promise. It's still not built, and I promise you the same until you go out to the community and find out what they want.
Not as eloquent and shorter, but what are we doing with the waterfront now? I was looking at some things there. Look like there's a bigger footprint that's being thought about. I saw this one of the pictures of it that showed this pool overhanging over onto the part of the public area. I think maybe that's been rejected now. Just like some crazy stuff that's being thought about. That's a huge step backwards. I saw a view that they were really careful 10 years ago, that they never showed such a view that of the project. That there were always these views where it showed like it was all the way off in the distance, this tiny little thing that had all this open space all around it. And there's a view in the thing now where they blew that because it basically looks like you're in the middle of a city block and it's a cityscape. It's not on the riverfront at all anymore. And by the way, what are you going to do with that concrete slab that's still there in the middle of what was supposed to be the open space and on the original site plan? It's going to take a hell of a lot of breaking up to get that out of there. Thank you.
The concrete slab is the foundation for the sales center, and it will go.
Okay.
Charlene Deck, I think it's interesting that Mr. Ginsburg had the nerve to get up at a planning board meeting and propose that he had funding in his pocket when he still hasn't paid for that concrete slab. He's being taken to court. He hasn't paid the $6,000 even for that concrete slab. The idea of even getting into business with this guy again in this housing market, he's using it so he can borrow money from someplace else and get solvent again. We really have to look at who these guys are, who these developers are, what's going on financially nowadays, and let's be fair. He hasn't even paid for the concrete slab.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the February 7th, 2012 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
I move. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approve the voucher detail report dated February 21st, 2012, in the amount of $191,528.95 for 2011 and $1,255,765.30 for 2012, for a total of $1,447,295.25. Do I have a motion? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas various owners of real property within the Village of Ossining were issued 10-day notices by the Director of Operations to install concrete sidewalk and/or driveway aprons and curbs abutting their respective properties except with respect to those individual parcels whose owners submitted grievances or objections to such costs at the public hearing held February 7, 2012, until such time as such grievances or objections are reviewed and resolved to the satisfaction of the Board of Trustees, and whereas the owners of such property chose not to provide their own contractors for such installation, the Director had no alternative but to order the Village of Ossining Department of Public Works to install said sidewalk and/or driveway aprons and curbs abutting these properties. And whereas all owners were duly notified of the public hearing held by the Board of Trustees on February the 7th, 2012 at 7:30, prevailing time to publicly hear any grievances or objections why costs shall not be assessed, and made a lien against their respective properties as provided under section C5-23 and C5-32 of the Charter of the Village of Ossining. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees has determined that said itemized costs are just and shall be assessed against the properties as shown on the attached schedule, which is listed below. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Anyone on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining has received site plan and special permit amendments to the approved Harbor Square site plan and special permit, and whereas a lead agency must be established for the environmental review of the proposed Harbor Square site plan and special permit pursuant to the requirements of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and whereas the Village of Ossining Board of Trustees is interested in becoming lead agency in this matter, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Ossining Board of Trustees declares its intent to become lead agency. The Village of Ossining Board of Trustees will distribute this resolution to all other involved agencies and afford them 30 days in order to comment on the intention of the Village of Ossining Board of Trustees with regards to lead agency. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Anyone on the board? Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas the
Thanks for
Board of
thinking about it.
Trustees of the Village of Ossining has received site plan and special permit amendments to the approved Harbor Square site plan and special permit, and where section 270-54 of the zoning code requires the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining to refer such proposed special permit amendments to the planning board for a recommendation to the village board in advance of scheduling a public hearing. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees, in accordance with section 270-54 of the zoning code, and in advance of scheduling a public hearing, hereby referred to the planning board for a recommendation on the proposed special permit amendment to Harbor Square. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board?
Yeah. Us passing this does not in any way, as far as I understand, suggest or affirm that we are in favor of this plan as written. They're just referring it to the board for further action.
That's correct.
Okay, just want that to be clear.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining has received site plan and special permit amendments to the approved Harbor Square site plan and special permit, and whereas under chapters 262 Village of Ossining Code, Waterfront Consistency Review, the Environmental Advisory Council shall make recommendations to the Board of Trustees regarding the consistency with LWRT on the proposed action site plan and special permit amendments. And whereas the Board of Trustees find the proposed actions for review to be the site plan and the special permit amendments to the Harbor Square site plan and special permit. Now therefore be it resolved that this matter is referred to the Environmental Advisory Council for review and report back to the village board with recommendations regarding the local waterfront consistency for the site plan and special permit amendment to the Harbor Square site plan and special permit application. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. On the board?
All those in favor? All those in favor?